Welcome to the Nova Hoopcast. Kevin and Brian with you this week. We're joined by John Costello, head coach at Broad Run High School. The Red Hot Spartans. We're happy to have Coach Costello with us. We're going to build your team up big time, Coach. So get ready for some coach speak. Let me throw it to Kevin. Kevin, as a Broad Run alum, I'm sure has a lot.
Right, a Broad Run alum. I assume there's no talk of me being in the Hall of Fame yet, John. But if there is, a nice plug would be nice, helpful. John, tell us to our many fans out there a little bit about your background, how long you've been at Broad Run, and just so they get to know you a little bit.
Okay, Kev. Actually, it's hard to believe this is my 25th year at Broad Run.
Wow.
And I got there day one. I started coaching. I started out with girls varsity. I had about 6 or 7 years of freshman boys. I think I did JV 1 or 2 years. And like the last 12 or 13 years, I've been boys head coach. And the years just go by, Kev. It just goes by and by and by. You just keep going at it. It's what I love. And I think Broad Run's a special place.
You've definitely made a special place this year. For those people who don't know, you've had plenty of success there. This is nothing new. I know the last couple of years you started off, with not great starts, honestly. I think you might have been 0-6 the last 2 years. Here you are at 7-0, but you're not at the program without some success in the past. Tell us a little bit about this year's group and what they're like and what it's like to be with them on the 7-0 run.
Believe it or not, Kev, COVID actually, as much as I can't believe I'm saying this is the first year in a long time our football program in Broad Run is pretty successful. And Matt Griffiths and I are good friends. We share athletes. I couldn't be any happier for success, but I wasn't getting those guys from football until 8 games into the season. And it was really kind of tough. This is the first year that football is following basketball. And it's made a big difference because those guys been there since day one. I think our football guys have given us a degree of toughness from the jump. Jake Busser is starting for us right now. And since he's a senior this year, and when he was a freshman, he was the best athlete in the building. But every year for the last 3 years, as soon as football got over, he had surgery. Never could play for us. This is the first year he goes, Coach, I'm healthy. No football. I'm glad it's fine. I love basketball. And he's been a huge difference. And when you throw those guys in there that compete with your guys that are playing all summer long, it's a nice combination. But I really like this team a lot. I'll tell you what, this is the first time in 25 years this has ever happened to me, Kevin. Prior to the season, I talked to the guys. I said, listen, this is Johnny, our custodian. I'm here all the time. He works another job in the day, but he comes in at 3 o'clock, works to 11, and he cleans this place. So you guys don't get sick. Let's make sure we do one thing. Let's make sure we leave it the way we found it. That's all I said to him. Day before Christmas, we're practicing, we're watching film. And Coach, can you get Johnny in the classroom when we watch film? I said, for what? Coach, could you get Johnny in there? So first time in 25 years, Johnny comes in the classroom, the guys give him a $75 gift card for Christmas.
Wow.
I said, guys, guess what? I don't care what happens this season. You guys are champs.
Right.
Impacting others with acts of kindness like that is what life's all about.
Right.
Couldn't be more impressed with what you guys just did. One of the guys in the team had the idea. They all Venmo'd him. Next thing you know, they gave him the gift card. I was like, this could be a special year. This could be special. When you get guys that kind of get it and they're kind of like working hard for each other and they're kind of giving up their individual stuff and they do stuff like that, I'm pretty excited.
That's a great story. And obviously, those are the things you look for as a coach. Fans don't hear about that stuff unless you're winning, but as a coach, you know about those things. But the funny thing, and I know Kevin would agree with this, ultimately, when you have kids that do those types of things and think like that, it translates to winning on the court. I mean, that's kind of a byproduct of the type of character they have. That's an awesome story, Coach.
Yeah, I think that's why you kind of win those close games when you do good things like that. Yes.
Yeah.
That's the kind of team that keep you in coaching a couple more years too.
Right, Kev? Right? First time in 25 years it ever happened. I was like, you guys don't realize this, but we've already had a championship season because of what you just did.
Yeah.
Well,
Speaking about having a championship season, it does fly by this year. It always does when you're in the middle of it, and you guys are off to a great start. What do you see as you look going forward at the Dulles District, Coach?
We talk about being really great teammates. It's the first year we're ever telling kids, be a great teammate, stay away from large groups of people, don't jump in a car with 5 guys, make sure you stay healthy because this could all go away. This 7-0. So we're all conscious of that. And just value the time we have together and take one day at a time and appreciate each day. And it's worked so far. It's like we got a good thing going. Kids are excited. They feel good about themselves. And it hasn't been really one individual. We have some really good players, but it's been like a group thing. And they're really working hard with each other for each other, and it's going pretty well. So I'm excited. Every day is a gift.
Coach, with the NFHS network, we're all able to watch games anytime we want. So I've had a chance to watch you guys play a couple times. My observations are you're athletic.
Yeah.
You get up and down the floor very well. You're deep. You bring some people off the bench. But a couple guys who stand out to me are your point guard, Thornhill. I think he's had a really good start. Another football kid you mentioned.
Yeah, he only played because of football. Last year when he played like 3 games, I knew he was special. I knew he was going to be really good. But he only played 3 games last year because of his football injuries.
Right.
So it's kind of like everything's come together this year with these guys healthy. And Arnold's been really good. I think it's not a surprise to me how good he's been.
But it's not Arnov and it's not Jake Busser. It's also you got a really good shooter and a senior. Luke is a great shooter. I think it's Schwartzbach. Am I saying that right? Schwartzmark.
Luke Schwartzbeck. Yep.
Yeah. And one of we talked about it before we started recording. I think one of the better underclassmen in the county, the team Purdue. If you could talk about him a little bit as well.
His off season is not an off season; it's an in season. He never takes a day off. He literally has a set of goals. He has a set of expectations, and he has a plan. And every day he attacks that plan. So him being really good this year is not an accident. He's worked at it. And he's a kid that has even higher expectations. Being one of your best players, he's absolutely one of our best, hardest workers. He only a sophomore, and he'll send texts to the group like, let's focus today. It's like a special type of kid. He hits the weight room after practice. It's just like, stay out of his way and just watch him. Mm-hmm. He does it right. I'm excited for him.
Coach, it sounds like you have a really special group. I have not tuned in yet on the network, but you've sold me. I'm going to look at my calendar this week. And, it's as Kevin said, it's great to have that access to the network and look at games. I can get lost in them sometimes and watch multiple games a day, but I'm definitely going to look for a broad run game. As we say every week, we could go on and on talking, but we've got to cover the whole area in high school basketball.
Brian, one more question.
Parting shots, Kevin.
I don't. A lot of people in this area, well, hopefully, are still Washington football team fans. And they had a big game last night where they lost to the Bucks. But in order to get into the playoffs, they had to beat the Eagles last week. And the Eagles have one of your former players, somebody that we're familiar with, Travis Fulgham, who was the MVP, Brian. I don't know if you remember of the First Nova Challenge. John, tell us a little bit about Travis and have you had any contact with him lately?
I have contact with him quite a bit. We text back and forth. We have lunch in the summertime. And you couldn't be any happier for a kid. I was the guy that coached him in high school, and I would try to talk him out of playing college football. I said, Travis, all these coaches are interested in you as far as basketball. Why don't you just try that? No, coach, I think I'm going to walk on at one school and just see what happens. Well, what happens? He was player of the game. He went from making $5,000 a week as a practice player, where he's making about $850,000 a year. Couldn't be any happier for him. He's a wonderful kid. He's just really, really good. Pat Cassie, my assistant coach, father's from Philly. He sent them from one new Philly guy to an old Philly guy and sent them a picture, autographed picture. It's just a special type of thing, and I couldn't be any happier for him. He's a great kid.
Well, I think we remember him very well as being an incredible athlete. We're happy for his success. Hope he stays with the Eagles.
Yes.
He continues to do well. We know we like watching him on TV, especially when Washington does beat them. And you spoke of Pat Cassidy. I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to Pat, longtime assistant. You guys have been together for a long, long time.
Yes.
Good friends, and I know you guys are enjoying this year.
Appreciate it. Yes.
Thanks for joining us, John. Always good to talk to you, and we'll look forward to throughout the season.
Thank you both. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, John. Take care. Wishing you luck.
Thank you.
And John is signing out.
There we go. Right.
Hey, good. You know him well. I don't know him that well.
He's a great dude. He's
It
a great
sounds
guy.
like a seasoned veteran coach. You talk, it's kind of like an advertisement for embrace the process or, you know, something like that. Like he was really, when you ask him about his team, he didn't say really one thing about on the court stuff. He talked all about all the intangible stuff and character and togetherness and all of that, which I think ultimately is what leads to success on the court.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's a New York guy. You can hear it in his accent.
Yeah.
You know, he's had a lot of success. I tried to get him to talk about it a little bit, but he's won district championships at Broad Run, had some great teams, but you know, that's just kind of how he is. He's interesting because he's got that New York personality. He's outgoing. He's a lot of fun, but he doesn't, you know, he's not a guy that maybe a lot of people in Northern Virginia know because he's not always out there. He's not on social media. He just kind of does his thing and does it well without asking for a lot of attention. So
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he certainly doesn't promote himself.
No, he doesn't. And he's got a really good group, Brian. I'm really excited about them. This year, they're leading the Dulles district right now. They're the hands-on favorite, but I wouldn't say that people thought they would be. You know, in that district, we talked in the beginning about Dominion and Loudoun County being very good, but they've kind of come out of nowhere, but they're for real. And the best part about them is they don't graduate a whole lot. They're all coming back next year. So we wish Coach Costello and Coach Cassidy a lot of success this year. And Brian, as we switch gears here, man, I've got to notice you're in a different spot. I'm in a different spot too. Where are you today?
I'm in beautiful Lake Gaston, North Carolina, a quick weekend getaway. So yeah, I found a spot down here in the basement that the Wi-Fi is working, and probably pack up and head home as soon as we finish the Zoom. It's good though.
Well, as the old saying goes, Brian, you can't hide money. You know, you're on vacation again. Good for you.
Right. Yes.
And I'm in a different location. I'm in my kids. I'm trying to hide with my head my daughter's sewing machine. I don't know if you can do that there, but yeah.
Well, you got a little sewing. You got some quarantine sewing projects on.
Yeah, my son got quarantined. Thanks, Simon, my son. Quarantine our whole family. I just got my PCR test, which is I guess the more effective test back this morning. I am negative, which is a good thing, but we are in quarantine. So I'm not in my usual spot filming the show, but you know, feeling good, happy to be here. It's interesting, you know, we've talked about COVID and how it's affected teams, and now I'm kind of experiencing it for myself personally. My daughter plays varsity basketball at Riverside, and she had to miss a game, and she wasn't even, you know, positive. She didn't have any symptoms, but she had to miss a game Wednesday. And then Friday she was supposed to play a game, but the team they're supposed to be playing came in contact with another team that had a positive test. So I'm seeing the parent side of it this week.
Oh yeah. Well, I think, we talk about basketball all the time, and you and I have both, been impacted personally by this. And I think we're reaching a point where most people have, like, if not somebody in your immediate family, somebody in your extended family. And I think we've all experienced this. So, hey,
enough about us. Let's talk about the weekend review.
Yes. So I'm going to go through some games, but I also want you to kind of jump in and make any comments you want to.
Okay.
And again, here's our disclaimer There's so much we can talk about, but we try to limit our show, as you've mentioned, to like 30 to 40 minutes. So we just can't cover everybody, but we do our best to touch as much around the region as we can. So we had a rivalry game, McLean over Langley, 72-65, which interesting. I want to try to get into one of those rivalry games and see what the tenor is like without a crowd, because those rivalry games, the crowd is always adds so much to it. I'm sure it's still a little more intense than your regular game, but there's nothing like those rivalry games. There were a couple of them this week. So McLean beat Langley 72-65. Aaron Bremser, who Kevin, we saw when
Was hurt, right?
He was really hobbled, but he had, depending upon who you talk to, he had either 29 or 31. So I guess his leg is starting to come along a little bit. Another rivalry game, South Lakes 47, Herndon 39. Clearly, Herndon had some success controlling the pace in that game, because I would imagine South Lakes wanted a higher scoring game, but they were able to still win in a lower scoring game. Speaking of pace, I was intrigued by this matchup because Robinson is trying to run the Braddock system, so they played each other. Didn't go too well, 100-48. I'm not shocked by the result. I was just intrigued to see that. One of the great matchups of the week, gosh, I can't remember the final score, but Patriot over Champ on Friday night.
I think it was like a 3 or 4 point game. I watched
it was a close game.
on the network.
Trey Nelson with an outstanding game. I've had a chance to see Patriot a couple of times. Trey Nelson, Chad Watson's a great shooter. So that's a great win for Patriot. Wakefield over Marshall 44-28. And again, to me, I didn't watch that game. Maybe you did, Kevin. Clearly Marshall trying to control the pace there, but you probably have to score more than 28 points, even when you control the pace, to have a chance to win the game.
Let me jump in there. We were remiss last week in talking about the National District, which we were reminded of by Coach Bentley in the nicest way possible. We love Coach Bentley. We kind of missed discussing the National District. Maybe it's a good time to go back. My first comment is it's wide open. It's a wide open district. I think anybody can win it this year. I know that Wakefield's perennially one of the best teams, but they got beat the other day by Edison, I believe. So that was a good win for Edison. I just think
that's their only loss in league, and I think Edison is still undefeated in league.
Yeah. So and then Marshall's definitely got some talent. They lost in the close one to Edison yesterday, I believe, on Saturday. I just think it's wide open. Then TJ, we didn't talk about TJ. They got a big win at Marshall, and then they beat last night, or not, maybe yesterday during the day. They beat Justice, so they have a couple wins as well. So I think the National District is wide open. Anyone can have a chance to win that.
I agree. And Kevin, let's hold off, because I've got an opportunity for us to talk about each district's segment. So
I guess I should read the agenda. Okay, I'll keep going.
Something special planned. Real quick, let's see. Annandale over Westfield 61-59. I was at that game. Andrew Neal's sophomore shooter knocked down a three with like 4 seconds left to win that game. Westfield, maybe not as talented as they have been in some other years, but they're going to be in most games just by how hard they play and how they defend. Hilton over Osborne by 2 in a Prince William County battle. Centerville played, I think, 3 consecutive nights, if I'm not mistaken. I think they played Thursday, Friday night they played PVI, and then Saturday they played Westfield, I think.
They did. They beat them yesterday.
Yeah, I know they played 3 nights in a row. They lost to PVI 100-70. I believe it was maybe a 10-point game at the half. And then
Brian, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
We saw Centerville play together. They're a very good team.
Yeah.
How were they allowed to play Paul VI? Because I know here at Loudon, we're not playing outside the county, and it seemed to me that you guys are doing that well as well. And technically, Paul VI is outside of the county. They're in Loudon County now.
Yeah, I believe, I'm not 100% on this, but I believe TC was on their schedule, and TC is not playing because Alexandria City is not playing. So I think they got permission.
Scheduling that makes sense. I'm just curious at a public school.
Well, yeah, I I think the decision, they got clearance at the highest levels of Fairfax County athletics. The cool thing about that game, and this is, I think, why they wanted to play, is Kevin Harris's son, Darren, is a freshman at PVI, really good player. He's already been offered by Georgetown. And so I'm sure it was a game that Kevin really wanted to try to play. You can only have that experience one time. I'm not sure what it's like coaching against your own kid, but yeah. As far as the inner workings of getting permission to play that game, I have no idea, Kevin.
My thought is they have different protocols, and that protocol,
yeah,
maybe they're good for them. I'm not against it at all, and I understand why Kevin want to play, and he's got a couple kids who were at Ball of Six as well. Kazemka and Avery Ford were both there. So I get it, but I just was curious about that if you knew anything.
Yeah. I do know it took a lot more than just the two coaches saying, let's play, or the two ADs. They had to kind of get clearance from some people, and were able to do that. I'm going to rattle off a couple more games here real quick. Yorktown over McLean, 74-68 in a Liberty District battle. Another one, WNL 55, Herndon 43. That's an interesting league right there. Hayfield 58, Annandale 49. That was a test that I was looking forward to seeing how the Adams did it as a measuring stick. And Hayfield's a talented, deep team. They come out on top. Some Loudoun County scores, if you want to chime in on anything here, Kevin.
I would say County beating another rivalry game. Loudoun County beating Tuscarora. That's always a good game. And I think
that was a close one.
Yeah, I think Loudoun County, and they played each other again yesterday. I think they played each other twice because I thought I saw score as well, and County won by a little bit more, but County, one of the better teams in the Dulles. Rockridge beating Potomac Falls by 20, which I was a little surprised at that margin, and Greg Spurlock with 29 points in that win. So I read an article about the game, and the Rockridge coach, Jay Geyer, was saying, we needed Greg to shoot more, to take over more, and he said he finally did. So 29 points in that win.
Yeah.
Last but not least, Stonebridge continues to, run through the district. They beat Briar Woods in what can be considered a rivalry game. Here, Loudoun schools have a lot of different rivals, not traditional rivals like Loudoun County for the most part. And Stonebridge, we talk about Broad Run being hot, but the other team in Loudoun County would definitely be Stonebridge. They're undefeated.
Right. Cool.
Brian, you putting your glasses on. What's going on?
I am. I'm looking at some standings, and it's nice to be able to thank Chris Jolly for helping us out. I use him as a resource for our show. So shout out to novahoops.com. Kevin, so here's the segment I wanted to do. Tell me if you can go with it.
Okay.
I wanted to have a 30-second shot clock, and we'll each take a district, and we'll just talk about the district for 30 seconds.
Okay.
And if the other guy, whoever's turn it is, if the guy whose turn, who's the guy who's not having a turn, I don't know if I'm explaining that right, he'll have 15 seconds after the 30 seconds if he wants to chime in on anything.
Okay. So 30 seconds on the district I'm giving, and if you're giving it your 30 seconds, I can chime in for 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
That's a very clear explanation.
People figured it out. Let's go.
All right. I got a timer. I got the shot clock running. So I'm going to go with the Liberty District first.
Okay.
So it's South Lakes to win. I think they're undefeated, although they did have a relatively close game there against Herndon. But I tell you what's really interesting. All those teams are capable of beating South Lakes probably on any given night, but they're all going to battle with each other afterwards. I think WNL and Yorktown, the two Arlington schools, are maybe up there, but McLean can beat people as well. So South Lakes and everybody else. And that's the end of my time. Kevin, you got any 15 seconds to add in?
Nope, I agree with that. Don't need to say anything if I don't have anything.
Okay, very good. Now we're going to move on to what do I have next on the list, Kevin?
Dulles District.
Okay, Dulles District. Kevin, go.
Mentioned we've talked to Coach Costello about this. Broad Run 7-0, running the table. Right behind them, Dominion and Loudoun County. Both teams very capable of doing it. I think they are the top three teams. I think one of them will win. But right now it's all Broad Run, a lot of depth, a lot of athleticism. But Dominion and Loudoun County are very well coached. So I kind of think it's a three-team race.
3, 2, 1. Time. just like you did with me. You just did such an outstanding job. I have nothing to add.
Okay.
That one. So I'm going to take the Cedar Run. And, there's been times in the past where when we talk about that league, it's been such a battle. Well, this year, we just saw a Patriot and Champ. So it seems to be the two of them. Patriot came out on top the first time. They'll probably play again really soon, the way the schedule is. After them, I don't know. I mean, I think it's a 2-horse race, as they say in the Cedar Run, without a doubt. It'll be interesting to see who battles to maybe be that third team. It's also great guard battles with the Jaspers from Champ, and then Trey Nelson and Chad Watson with Patriots. So we talk about guard play all the time. So that's how I see the Cedar Run. I think there's no doubt it's Patriot and Champ for the Cedar Run. Kevin, anything?
I agree. You mentioned guard play. I saw them play on the network and was very impressed by both guards, really attacking, controlling the game. But I think it could go down to the wire. I think it's like it showed the other day. It's going to be a close game. But yeah, definitely those top two teams.
All right, Kevin, Potomac District. Let's move back into your wheelhouse out in Loudoun County.
I kind of gave some of that away already.
Right.
That's Stonebridge right now being undefeated. Honestly, though, there's 3 teams after that, and any one of them can challenge, if not win the whole thing. I think Riverside's had its moments. They were 3-3 after the first go through. They're very capable. Rockridge, also very capable, proven by that 20-point win. So they can get it done. I mean, they were the favorite coming in for sure. I think they are really good. Stonebridge is up there, and then Potomac Falls. I mean, they always do a good job. I don't think Coach Hawes has as much talent he's had in the past, but they have the culture, they have the system, and they will win some games. So I think, again, 4 teams there.
Shot clock.
All right.
Yeah, Stonebridge, I knew they were going to be good, but off to an undefeated start in that league.
Yeah.
So, yeah, props to them. And but it's still a battle. I don't think it's not like they're head and shoulders above other teams. So,
Yeah.
okay. Gunston District, I'll take that. So I've seen, we spoke to Coach Houston last week from West Potomac. I've seen Hayfield play. I've seen Annandale play. It's only a 4-team league because TC's not playing. And it's really, it's Hayfield and Annandale, I think, at this point. Obviously, West Potomac being a veteran, having a veteran coach, they can sneak up on you if you're not careful. Hayfield just beat Annandale the other night. I think it was by 9. So that was interesting kind of measuring stick for that district. But Annandale's got talent, and I've seen them, and they do have one kid who hasn't played, Max Lanham, who's really good, hasn't played yet. We'll see if he's able to make it back this season. But right now, Hayfield slightly in the driver's seat, but Annandale is right there on their heels. Anything to add about Gunston, Kevin?
No, I think you mentioned everything. I really like Annandale, though. I think they definitely have the talent, and like you said, once Max Lanham gets healthy, they can definitely win it all.
Yeah. All right. National District. We talked about them a little bit more. Anything you want to add to what you said?
Before I know you had the special segment, I talked a little bit about it being wide open. In the past, it's been dominated by Wakefield, and then Marshall last couple of years with Daniel Deaver. Edison right now leading the way, but it could go, it could be Wakefield, it could be Marshall, it could be Edison, it could be any one of those teams. And just like in the Loudoun districts I talked about, just because Edison's undefeated in the district doesn't mean they can't lose. I mean, in the past, we've had some teams who've been undefeated in their district, and you're like, I don't think anyone's going to touch them. But this race is so close, it could be whoever's playing well that night. And maybe
it really is
at home.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, TJ's got a couple wins. We know Marshall, with their style, they can beat anybody. They hit a few shots. They got to score a little bit more, obviously, than the 28 they scored the other night. But, Edison, Wakefield right now, it looks like are going to jockey for first, but I wouldn't say they have, a stranglehold on that spot. Some of those other teams can sneak up on them. Let me jump in on the Patriot District. We've talked about this before.
The big boys.
Yeah, it's Braddock in South County. And I can't wait. I think they play this week. They do. I think they play on Friday. We have that written down on our agenda somewhere, but that'll be a great battle when they play. Boy, Jamie Kaiser for Braddock is just blowing right now in Northern Virginia. He's like the player of the year. I don't think, might not even be close as a sophomore. So it's going to be those two. I'm not sure. I think, Woodson, I think, is always physically strong and very good at imposing their will and their pace on teams. And West Springfield can do some of that as well. So, could one of those other teams in the Patriot upset Braddock or South County? Maybe so. Braddock's had a couple close games against some of those teams that have surprised me a little bit. But I still think, when push comes to shove, purely from a talent standpoint, it'll be, those two teams. It would almost have to be an off night or some health issue or something like that for those two teams not to be right there in the stretch. And those teams can keep playing well beyond district play. Anything to add?
I agree. I'm with you on that.
Pretty clear cut. Okay, what do we got? Kevin, Concord District.
Concord, Centerville, right now. I would say Centerville is the team to beat, but Madison, always sneaky. Beat them last year, even though, Centerville was the co-state champs. Madison beat them twice. I think Kevin does a great job of scouting and understands, strengths and weaknesses of not only his team, but other teams as well. So they're always there. I think he has a very good team with some senior leaderships. But to me, it's those two. I'm missing somebody, Brian. You're looking at the standings.
No, you're not. I mean, Westfield, I've been impressed as always with how hard Westfield plays, and they have a couple kids that can knock down shots from time to time. But I think clearly, on paper, it's Centerville and Madison, and they've kind of gone at each other the last couple of years. So I think they will again. Last one.
Our ninth and final district, the Cardinal.
Yes, the Cardinal District. Oh my gosh, I'll tell you what, Potomac is really good. I don't know that anybody's.
I think Forest Park might be their closest game. Is that?
Yeah. I mean, they haven't played a ton of games yet, but they're undefeated. But as I look at that league, and I've seen Hilton, I've seen Forest Park a little bit, and Colgan a little bit, not entire games, but Potomac's good. They're talented. They've got some size. They've got some depth. They can get up and down the court. They can defend. They're a team that I think can continue to play well beyond district play, and it'll be interesting to see how the battle goes behind them. But, I like Forest Park, like you mentioned as well.
Well, I think out of all the districts, Brian, and I mentioned this when I talked about Sunday 6 earlier, and of all the districts we cover, this is the district where you say this is the clear favorite. And it'd be very difficult for them to lose. Whereas I think there's parity in the other 8 districts we cover. This one, I kind of feel like Potomac's going to have to lose some kids and come down with COVID or something to not. I just think they're that good this year, and they're rolling.
And some of that could happen. I've spoke to a coach yesterday actually on the phone who his team has been significantly impacted by injuries and COVID. It's like he said he's hardly had 10 guys to practice. Plus, they don't have much practice time now either. You're playing so many games. So it's such a strange season. You're right. There's some variables at play this year that could pop up at any moment in time and have a significant impact. Kevin, do we have time for Doyle's Dimes, or should we put that?
I think I think we got to do it. We're probably about 30 minutes in. 34 minutes in. So if you can get it done in 5.
All right, I can. So I'm going to race through it. I'm going to ask your help on some of this. So I always like shooters because, obviously if you can't put the ball in the basket, it's hard to win games. So just some of the shooters that I've seen, I wanted to mention some of the better shooters in the area. Andre Spate from SoCo, a Mount St. Mary's commit. Will Vetter from Westfield, who is the nephew of the legendary Stu Vetter.
Yeah. John Vetter is his father.
Yeah.
I played basketball.
I think you guys used to go head to head in intramurals or something, didn't you?
Used to play outside John, a graduate of Osborne High School, and played a little bit of Bridgewater, but good guy, and he can shoot, and so can his son.
Yeah, his son can shoot. I mentioned Chad Watson at Patriot. He's a pure shooter, really, really can knock it down. His backcourt mate, Trey Nelson, can shoot it as well. He's probably more of combo guard or more of a point guard type who can also shoot the ball. Manny Ojo from Osborne can shoot it as well. I think in the games I've seen, I think he needs to shoot a little bit more. He's a little guy though, so it's sometimes tough for him to get his shot off. Chris Kazemka from Centerville, we've seen him. We've talked about him. Jamie Kaiser, who's super athletic, but boy, he can shoot the ball. Andrew Neal is a sophomore from Annandale. He's the one who
Hit that big shot.
His game the other night. He hit a game winner. Let's give a little national district love. Nathan Singby from TJ.
Yeah.
I believe in the win over Marshall, he hit the game winner in that game, but I think he had 6 threes in that game.
He did.
So anyone who can knock down 6 in a game, in my book, can shoot. Kevin, I'm going to throw it back over to you as our Loudoun County experts. Who are some of the guys?
The Loudoun expert on everything. I'll start with Michael Ziller from Riverside. Just set the school record for threes in his last games. Congratulations to him. Jack Clark at Tuscarora having a really good season. Very good shooter for the Huskies.
He had a game winner recently, which it was like an elbow jumper, but not a three. Shoot.
And we've seen him play for the Cavaliers, fundamentally sound. I would say Max Janis, good shooter, and recognition to him, or a shout out to him. He got his 1,000th point this week. Been on varsity since he has been a freshman, so very, very happy for him, but can definitely shoot the ball. I would say Elijah Easter, not a knockdown shooter, but can do a little bit of everything. I think he's a very good player. We mentioned with Coach Costello earlier in the show, Luke Schwartzmark, who had 6 threes in the game. Yeah, Schwartzmark. He's a senior. Coach said, he's a good shooter when he's on. He's on. And then Stonebridge, Dylan Hundermark, point guard for them, can shoot the ball. And last but not least, we talk about them all the time. I would say the Jasper twins on a given night, both can fill it up. So very good shooters there, Champ as well. Yeah, good call on the kid from Stonebridge. I've watched them play. I didn't have a roster in front of me. I was watching them on the NFHS, but I saw. All right, Brian, we went quick, so you got a time to run through some upcoming games that people need to be paying attention for this week. Go ahead. Okay. I think Woodson West Springfield's a good battle in the Patriot. Wait, doesn't West Springfield have Gibraltar Coleman?
Yes.
What a great name that is, Gibraltar.
Yeah. Yes, he's on the all-name team. He's a big guy. He can play.
That's Coach Jeremy and Marshall's nephew, I think. I believe you're right. Yeah, Gibraltar. What a great name. Yes. The Rock of Gibraltar or something. Yorktown Herndon. Yes. Yeah. Like it. Yeah. And I think Herndon does a good job of controlling pace. Not that they want to slow it down, but I think they can play at different paces. I'm impressed by them. Osborne and Battlefield, a good Prince William County battle. Hayfield and Centerville, I think that's a nice matchup. Hayfield's got some depth. They'll get up and down with anybody, so I'm looking forward to seeing that one. Yorktown South Lakes, liable to be. I think this will be their second game. I think they already played once. Centerville Madison this week. I know you mentioned them when you talked about the Concord, so that'll be a great battle. And I mentioned Friday night we got Braddock and SoCo, so we got a couple really nice matchups coming up this week between top teams. Edison S. Falls Church and TJ. That national district, like you said, is wide open. So you can almost pick any game in the national district and say, wow, this is going to be interesting to see how that plays out, because Edison and Wakefield are right there at the top, but there's not much separating them from the rest of the district. Loudoun, I'll steal it from you, our Loudoun expert in all things. Broad Run at Dominion. Yes, good game. And Stonebridge at Rockridge. I think that's a really nice game in Loudoun. Yeah, I think Stonebridge is going to be for a good game. I think Rockridge is going to be ready to play at home. So I think that's a big one. So I might have put too much on our agenda. We had to race through some things. We probably went a little over what we usually do. I got one more thing. And bring it. I'm going to give this is serious or this is a joke? What do you got? Well, somebody who you've seen play that you didn't know about that you really like. One kid. I'm going to go with, while you're thinking, I'm going to go with Jacob Thomas from Stonebridge. I think he's been their MVP so far. He's a dual sport athlete. He's about 6'1". He's a defensive back in football. man, he is good. I think he's what makes Stonebridge go. And I didn't really know much about him. I knew he was a pretty good football player, but man, he's a good basketball player. And it's really been fun to watch him. You got anybody that stands out?
Well, here's somebody I didn't know about before the season. Nate Arrington at Hilton. He's about 6'5", 6'6", and people know about him in Prince William. And we talked about him probably a little bit last year, but I hadn't seen him until this year. And he's a really good kid. What impresses me is that he's got old school footwork right down the post. And he's got a nice shooting touch, a nice shooting form, but he's not like most kids these days that everybody wants to run around outside the arc. He can do a lot of stuff around the basket, and his footwork and his post moves are kind of old school. And as he continues to develop, he is a senior, but if he could really further develop his perimeter game, he'll be a good player on the next level. So I've enjoyed watching him play and develop.
It's time to wrap it up. Good seeing you.
Might go out for a swim in the lake.
That's right. I'll be happy to go outside, but enjoy your time. I'll see you when you come back. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you next week.